teaching learning session of sociology. Today in this lecture, we'll compare and contrast the work of Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim and Max Weber. In our earlier classes, we discussed Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim and Max Weber. In this lecture, we'll compare and contrast their work, and in today's lecture, we'll compare and contrast their work on religion. Religion A religion includes a system of beliefs and practices which helps human beings to shape their actions and orientation. It binds people with other followers, bringing about a feeling of identification and unity. What is the purpose of religion? It binds the people together. It brings a feeling of unity and identification. Religion, economy, and capitalism. Economics is a general matter of production and distribution of goods. Human beings are directly involved in both the process and production and distribution. As when we were discussing about Karl Marx, we discussed the process of production and distribution in detail, and human beings are directly involved with the process of production and distribution. What is produced and distributed depends much on general the pattern of consumptions characteristics of a society, or what we will consume, what we will produce. It totally depends on the characteristics of society. Our society, Eastern society, differs from the Western society. Our culture is different from other society. So what we will produce, what we will consume totally varies from society to society. It depends on the culture of society. And religious beliefs plays an important role in this. Religious beliefs and values affect one's work ethic, business ethic, and consumption pattern. This is allowed in my religion, this is not allowed in my religion. I can eat non-veg as it is allowed in my religion. There is no barring. My religion don't bar me, but in some cases I'm not supposed to allow because of my religion. So consumption pattern, business ethic, work ethics totally depends on the religion. Consumption pattern too may be conditioned by one's religion beliefs. As I explained you, religion influences the economic activities of people. Religion plays an important role in economic activities too. Religion themselves may arise out of crisis situation. Religious beliefs, values affect the process of production, distribution, and consumption. What we will produce, how we will distribute our production produced goods, and how we will consume or what we will consume totally depends on our religious beliefs and values. Economic orders varies from age to age, right? As we discussed this economic order when we were discussing Karl Marx. Nature and organization of production, distribution, and consumptions differ widely in various economic orders. In various economic orders, nature of distribution, nature of production, and nature of consumption widely varies. Economic orders, whether it is capitalist economic order, whether it is feudalistic economic order, whether it is slavery economic order, the consumption pattern, the distribution pattern, and the production pattern varies or differ widely from in different economic orders. On the transformation of feudalism, there are changes in religious sphere because of Renaissance, because of Enlightenment period, because of scientific development and um, industrialization. There was a transformation in the religious sphere. Now people started thinking logically instead of believing whatever church says or whatever king says. People started thinking uh, um, people started thinking logically. So there was a transformation. The doctrine of Catholic Church were challenged by the new stream of thoughts. People were not ready to take whatever the church says as it is. They were their doctrines were challenged by the new streams of thoughts because people started thinking rationally. It was a period of Renaissance. As the capitalism developed, many Protestant sects also arise in many European countries. Karl Marx and Max Weber are the two scholars who shed significance of relationship between capitalism and religion. Many scholars wanted to find out the relationship between the religion and capitalism, but Karl Marx and Max Weber were the two who defined the relationship, significant relationship between capitalism and religion. Let us discuss the Karl Marx perspective on religion. Marx's model of society had economic base, which constrains the superstructure constituted by religion, politics, arts, etc. As we know that Karl Marx is an economic determinist. He relates everything with economics. According to him, the changes in this society is because of the economic order. The change in the social order is because of change in the economic order. So according to Marx, economy is the one which is responsible for changes in society. It is economy is the base of any society. And we discussed the class conflict theory of Karl Marx in that I told you that according to Marx, this superstructure constituted by religion, politics, arts, etc., is responsible for class conflict or false consciousness of the workers. So, according to Marx, a religion forms a superstructure and this is responsible for false consciousness. According to Marx, society determines the men's consciousness, right? Remember the class conflict theory when we discussed the economic order is at the base of the society, and above the economic order, there is a superstructure made up of religion, politics, arts, etc., culture, etc. This is formed by the capitalist to control the consciousness of worker class, right? So society and religion determines the men's consciousness. This creates religion creates a false consciousness of the worker class. Misery which necessitates religion comes not just from within the individual but from the specific exploitative social conditions. Because of this false consciousness created by the superstructures of capitalist, right? This this superstructure as well. This is responsible for false consciousness, and this false consciousness uh, creates a feelings in the worker class that this is destined. I am not, I am supposed to do whatever I am doing. God has chosen me for this. This is my destiny. So, this has created a false consciousness. So this society and individual, uh, this religion necessitates within the individual and the social exploitative conditions. The religion is anchored in the society in Marx's thought. Marx's view on religion and its relationship with capitalism has three themes. First is religion is an illusion which veils real exploitative conditions in society. It hides the real exploitative conditions of the society. It is a veil. Second, religion is mode of protest, though in a mild form. It is a mode of protest. And the third theme is religion can be discarded not through a critic of religion, but only changing the societal condition which give rise to religion. If you want to change the religion, there is no use to criticize any religion. If you want to change the religion, you can change it only by changing the societal conditions which is responsible for this religion. Religion has double function. According to Marx, it has double function. It acts as an ideology of ruling elite. That's why they creates this superstructure over the economic base. This is ideology of a ruling elite, so that they can control the working class. It acts as an opiate of the masses. It works as an opium for masses. Commodity is products of men's labor, as we all know. The relationship between the producer and their labor is presented as a relationship not between themselves but between the product of their own labor. This is the concept of alienation, which we discussed when we were discussing the Karl Marx. That is, the relationship between the producer and its own labor is presented as a relationship not between the producer and the product, but between the product of their own labor. Labor feel that this is not my product, right? Commodities thus become independent because for working class, the product they produce is not their product, and in that way that commodity become independent. In the same way, a religion which is product of men's alienated labor becomes independent and begins to reign over them. In the same way, the religion became independent and began to reign over the human beings. The social relation of men appears as a relation of alien objects, both in the world of commodities and in the world of religion. Right? This relationship between the religion and between men and religion and human being and commodity, human being and religion and commodity, they become alien. Max Weber perspective on religion. So, according to Marx, a religion works as an opium for working class. It opiates the working class, and it is an ideological state of ruling class so that they can control the ruled class. Now, let us discuss the Weber's perspective on religion. Weber applies his concept of rationalization to understand changes in religion, science, arts, administration, and politics. We discussed the rationalization concept of Max Weber in detail. We discussed about religion, about the administration process of Max Weber in detail. So, Max Weber applied his concept of rationalization to understand religion. For Weber, capitalism itself was born out of highest degree of economic rationalization. Capitalism is a byproduct of economic rationalization according to Max Weber. As per Max Weber, economic rationalization resulted in capitalism. In the development of capitalism, the ideas supplied by the Protestant sect played a major role. According to Max Weber, the Protestant sect is responsible for capitalism. His book, Protestant Ethics and Capitalism, right? He wrote that in Protestant ethic, in Protestant sect, people consider that God has given them the duty. God has chosen them for specific work, and their work is to work hard to earn money and not to spend that money on luxurious life, rather than invest the profit again into business and earn more money. This is Protestant ethic. And according to Marx, this Protestant ethic is responsible for a rise of capitalism. That they started investing the money, they earned profit, and then they again invested that profit in their industries or in their work, and then again they earned more profit and they invested more money in their industries. So this ethic, that capitalist, this Protestant ethic is responsible for capitalism. This has given rise to the capitalism according to Max Weber. So religion, according to Max Weber, this Protestant sect played a major role in capitalism. West and East. Weber contrasted East and West and finds that rationalization has reached the higher degree only in West. In West, there was an industrialization, scientific developments were going on, it was a period of enlightenment in West, but in East, there was not such development were taking place at that time. In various spheres such as music, architecture, legal system, printing system, bureaucracy, and capitalism, the West has reached a higher degree of rationalization rather than the East. Weber points to the three aspects which marks the emergence of rational capitalism. First is rational capitalistic organization of free labor, rational industrial organization turned into regular markets, and technical utilization of scientific knowledge. So these three aspects are responsible for the emergence of rational capital because of availability of free labor, rational capitalistic organization of free labor, because there was change in the social order, right? A rational industrial organization turned into the regular market, and technical utilization of scientific knowledge. The second point is Catholics and Protestants. Catholics and Protestants were deeply influenced by their religious beliefs in the choice of occupation and type of education. As I told you in the beginning, that what we will produce, what we will consume, our work ethics is influenced by the religion. So, Catholic and Protestant are were influenced by their religion in choosing their occupations. So they were influenced by their religion in choice of their occupation. Citing a data, Weber says that while Protestant sect, their children, while Protestants sent their children to technical education, industrial and commercial training institutes. The Catholics sent their children to humanities education. So Catholic preferred humanities while Protestant preferred technical education, industrial development. Right? Protestant outnumber Catholics among skilled laborers and administrators. That is the work ethic, their religious ethic, that is responsible for capitalism. So according to Max Weber, this religious ethics of Protestants is responsible for the arise of catholic for I'm sorry, for arise of capitalism, right? Because they have chosen those type of education or those fields from which they can earn profit and they can make money, they can mint money. Third is spirit of capitalism. Protestantism, especially Calvinism, had economic ethic conducive for development of capitalism. I explained it to you. The word of Benjamin Franklin was a priest. The words of Benjamin Franklin, such as time is money, credit is money, or money can budget money, capture the essence of Protestantism. So, according to Protestant ethics, time is money. Money can budget money. So, their religious ethics of Protestant group influenced their working culture. After the arrival of Protestantism, earning became a virtue and end in itself. Now earning is a virtue. People earned a lot but didn't spend lavishly. People worked hard and didn't consume luxuriously. Right? They earned money, they earned a lot, but didn't spend on the luxuries, invested that profit again to earn more money. Then sense of calling. There are major difference in understanding calling as well as labor between Catholicism and Lutheranism and Calvinism. Calvinism and worldly sectism. The doctrine of predestination holds the key to the understanding of capitalistic spirit generated by Calvinist ethics. What is this predestination doctrine? And this is, according to this Protestant ethics, God has chosen people for some specific work, and one should work according to the will of the God and should fulfill their duties towards the God. The doctrine of predestination states that God has already chosen some men for eternal life, that is salvation, and some men for eternal death. The doctrine of predestination creates some social psychological impacts. Firstly, the individual is left alone because there is nobody to mediate between him and the God, neither the priest nor the church. So they started thinking rationally, right? They feel like they can directly talk to the God. There is no mediation required, and God has chosen them for this specific work, that is eternal life, salvation, right? Secondly, the individual has to find his way himself, for there is no magical way to attain salvation, like religious ceremonies, etc. etc. If you want to achieve the salvation, you have to work hard. There is no shortcuts to achieve the salvation. A Puritan practices self-control but work tirelessly to demonstrate his faith that he is one among the chosen. To prove himself to the God, to work according to the wills of the God, they worked tirelessly. When they work hard and earns lot of money but avoids luxury, natural capital accumulates. When you are not spending your money on luxuries, naturally your capital will accumulate, and this can be used for further productive investment. Thus, the Protestant sect had an economic ethics which helped the growth of capitalism, particularly in Western European countries. So, according to Max Weber, it is Protestant ethics which is responsible for the growth of capitalism in Western European countries. According to Protestant ethics, God has chosen people for salvation and they should work hard to achieve the targets given to them by the God, and they should not then in that sect earning is a virtue, and they should work hard tirelessly to earn and should not spend their money on luxuries, and invest that money on earning in productive investment, and this and that, and in that way this gave rise to the capitalism, right? A religion and collective representation. At Durkheim, collective representation is the concept given by the Durkheim. Durkheim is the one who has given the concept of collective representation, collective consciousness. We discussed this concept in detail while we were discussing the work of Durkheim. Durkheim's work on elementary form of religious life is an important work. He worked on the elementary form of religious life. Why he worked on the elementary form of religious life? I'll explain it to you. According to Durkheim, the most elementary, simple form of religion will be found in those society with correspondingly elementary social organization, that is primitive tribal communities. So according to Durkheim, tribal communities are the simple communities, and these communities follows the elementary form of religion. It is by according to Durkheim, it is by understanding the elementary form of religion one can understand the complex system of thoughts and beliefs. If you can understand the concept, understand the elementary form of anything, then you can understand the complex thoughts, complex system, right? So, as per Durkheim, if one can understand, after understanding the elementary form of a religious life, one can understand the complex system of thoughts and beliefs. According, what is religion? Religion is nothing but it's a combination of thoughts and beliefs. To understand religion, according to Durkheim, we must free our mind from all preconceived ideas of religion. If you really want to understand religion as per Durkheim, you should clear your mind, free your mind from your preconceptions, right? Durkheim discarded the notion that religion is concerned only with mysterious or supernatural phenomena, with God, spirits, and ghosts. Durkheim discarded this concept that it is related to that religion is related to God, it is related to spirits, and it is related to ghosts. But Max Weber accepted this. We will discuss this. He points out, that is Durkheim points out, that religion is as concerned with ordinary as extraordinary aspect of life. A religion is concerned with ordinary as well as extraordinary aspect of life. So religion impacts each and everything of our life. A religion impacts society, whether it's an ordinary thing or whether it's an extraordinary belief. According to Durkheim, all religion comprises two basic components, namely beliefs and rites. A religion is composed of two basic components, that is beliefs and rites. Beliefs are the collective representation. What the majority thinks, that is the collective representation. So belief is the collective representation as per Durkheim. It's a collective consciousness, what is accepted by the majority of the society. And the rites determine the mode of action, which is influenced by belief. Rites are influenced by belief and it is mode of action, how you act. It's a mode of action. A religious belief, as studied by Durkheim, presupposes that classification of all things into sacred and profane. Durkheim divided things into sacred and profane, pure and impure, pavitra or apavitra. That is sacred and profane. The sacred is that which is set apart and considered holy. Sacred things are those things which we consider holy things. They are holy, right? And sacred is usually in a higher position, valued more than profane things. We keep sacred things at the higher position. We value sacred things more than the profane things. The identity and power are protected by social rules. Identity and power of sacred is protected by social rules. Society forms the rules so to maintain the holiness or the sacredness of that thing. The profane refers to mundane, ordinary aspect of day-to-day existence. That is not very important. There is anything which exists but is of less importance. That is profane. It is an ordinary aspect of day-to-day existence. As per Durkheim, the sacred and profane are kept apart because why they are kept apart? Because they are heterogeneous, because they are different, because they are antagonistic, they are in conflict. One is sacred, one is profane, one is pure, one is impure, and they are isolated, separated. Beliefs and rites unite to form the religion. So, according to Durkheim, beliefs and rites forms a religion. What is religion? Beliefs and rites, actions forms the religion. Belief is what? Collective consciousness or collective representation. They are collective representation which exists outside of individual, yet integrates the individual into religious system. According to Durkheim, society is important than the individual. So, collective representation represents the society, not the individual. It exists outside the individual because it represents the society, but still it integrates the individual. It works as a binding agent in the society. Rights are the rules of conduct that follow from the beliefs, how we will behave. Rules of conduct are the rights. They bring individuals together and they strengthen their social nature. They are modes of expression of collective consciousness. Rights are the modes of expression of collective consciousness. Beliefs and rights represents the collective consciousness or collective representation. So, as per Durkheim, the definition of religion is Religion is a unified system of beliefs. It's a system of beliefs and practices relative related to sacred things. That is to show things set apart and forbidden. Beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community. Beliefs and uh, practices works as a binding agent. They unite this society as a single moral community. Study of totemism. Totemism. What is totemism? This concept is given by Durkheim. Durkheim maintains that totemism is a most simple form of religion. It is a form of religion and it is the most simplest form of religion. Totem, totemism. Totemism is linked with social organization of clan. The members of clan believe themselves to have descended from the common ancestors. They believe the members of a community or a clan believe that they have a common ancestor. It could be an animal, it could be a plant, or even a non-living object. That ancestor could be a non-living object, it could be a plant, or it could be a uh, animal, right? The common ancestor is a totem object, right? This is totem object, common ancestor. When we feel like that we have a common ancestor or we are descendant of from a common ancestor or of a common ancestor, this common ancestor is totem object, and this totemism is what it is, a simplest form of religion. It is the totemic object that gives the clan its name and identity. That clan gets its name and identity from that totem. Totem is an emblem. It is often carved, designed on another objects belonging to the clan, even on the bodies of clan member. This totem object, it could be a plant, animal, or any other non-living thing, it works as an emblem. And they carve this emblem on their bodies, on their money, right? On their other products. They are endowed with sacredness. This totem object is sacred. Many taboos or don'ts are attached to the totem objects. The clan members may not be related by blood, but they have a common name and a common emblem. They may not be related by blood, but because they feel like that they have a common ancestor, so they have a common name and common emblem. Gotra. In Hindi, we call it Gotra, right? Clan. Because it might not be, it might be possible they are not related by blood, but they have a common name and a common emblem. Clan exogamy is thus an important rule. Religion and social organization are thus intimately connected in such simple society. So, totemism is what? Totemism is the simplest form of a religion. And this clan, what is clan? Clan feel like they have a common ancestor, they have a common totem. So, this religion and social organization are intimately connected in simple societies. The totemic objects and all that is concerned with, it is considered sacred. The totemic object is merely a symbol of that totemic principle, which is nothing but the clan itself. This is the point. According to Durkheim, totemic object is merely a symbol of totemic principle. It's a symbol of principle, which is nothing but a clan itself. So clan is a totem. In Durkheim's view, God is nothing but society glorified and given different shapes and form. God is glorified is nothing but the society glorified and given different shapes and form is God according to Durkheim. Why is society worshipped? According to Durkheim, society is worshipped. Why is society worshipped? So, according to Durkheim, it is physically and morally superior to individual. Why society is important? Because it is physically and morally superior to individual. Society is sui generis with a reality of its own. Sui generis, society generates. It exists even before an individual and it will exist even after the death of an individual. So society is sui generis. That's why society is worshipped. It is physically and morally superior to individual. Its power is feared because it can control the individual. So its power is feared. That's why we feel like what people will think about us. We think about people, yeah, because we are feared of the society, because its power is feared, its authority is respected. The authority of society is respected. That's why society is important or worshipped. Worshipping society produces in its member a feeling of oneness, solidarity, and enthusiasm, helping them to participate in collective life and expressions of this society. So, this worshipping of society is responsible for collective consciousness, for solidarity and enthusiasm. Religion and science. According to Durkheim, that scientific thoughts has its origin and its religious thoughts. Science has its roots in religion. So, scientific thoughts has its roots or origin in religious thoughts. Both religion and science reflects on nature, human beings, and society. Religion reflects the nature, it reflects the human being, and it reflects the society, and the same science does. Both science and religion attempts to classify the things, relate them to one another, and explain them. Scientific thought is more developed and refined form of religious thoughts. As per Durkheim, scientific thought is more developed and refined form of religious thoughts. Right? Both religious and scientific thoughts contribute to collective representation of society. Religion contributes the collective representation or consciousness of the society, and same this science, as we can generalize the finding of the sciences, so it represents the collective consciousness of the society. There cannot be any conflict between the two because both are directed towards seeking universal principles. Individual needs society in order to be a truly human, and religion and science both contribute to unifying individual and society. Individual needs a society in order to be a truly human being is a social animal, so he needs a society. Religion and science both contribute to unifying individuals with society. It's unite individual with society. So there are similarities between religion and science. As per Durkheim, science has its roots in religion. Now let us compare the work of Marx and Weber. Comparison between Marx and Weber. Both Marx and Weber agreed that capitalism is not a mere economic system, but it permeates and spreads throughout the society. It is not a economic system, but it spreads throughout the society. Second is, both of them agreed that social values which necessary for growth of capitalism were not natural but outcome of historical development. When we were discussing the Marx, we discussed the theory of dialecticism. There we discussed that Marx tried to find out, traced back the history to find out the origin of various society. Similarly, Weber, according to Weber, the values has its roots in historical development. He emphasized on historical development. So both Marx and Weber agreed that social values which are necessary for the growth of capitalism were not only natural but the outcome of historical development. Third point is, both of them agreed that new capitalist entrepreneurial classes didn't come from pre-capitalist financial or merchant classes. Weber agreed with Marx on the idea that capitalist class was a rising class. The major difference between the two, Marx and Weber, is Marx considered ideas to be the simple reflection of social and economic realities. As Marx was a economic determinist, so he considered ideas to be a simple reflection of social and economic realities. So, according to Marx, it is not the idea, but it is the classes or economics or the production or the product which is responsible for the changes in the society. Weber considered ideas to be important for development, while Marx considered classes or economic development or mode of production for the development. Weber did not establish a one to one relationship between religion and development. Weber's thesis says that after a certain stage of development, a religion may serve as an ideology to those who benefited out of the development. After a certain period of time, according to Weber, this religion may serve as an ideology for the capitalist or for those who benefited from the development. Weber asserted the criticism of religion from within, while Marx ruled that out. According to Weber, we should criticize the religion from within, while according to Marx, the criticism of religion is possible from outside the religion. You cannot criticize the religion from within, you can criticize the religion from outside the religion. Marx's view of religion as a masking mechanism applies to all ages, societies, and culture. According to Marx, religion is a veil. It acts as a veil. It acts as a masking mechanism. It applies to all ages. It applies to all societies and cultural systems. Everywhere, religion works as a veil or a masking mechanism. Weber's view of religion as a bearer of ideas for potential development applies to specific historical cultural system. As per Marx, history is divided into many epochs, characteristics of a particular way of distribution of ownership of means of production. Capitalism is one such epoch of history, right? So, according to Marx, as he studied the various forms of the society from the primitive to the capitalistic society, Marx divided the history into many epochs and the particular and according to the Marx, the ownership of means of production is responsible for the changes and capitalism is one of the such epoch in history. According to Weber, capitalism is the specific stage, one long drawn out historical process called the rationalization. Because of rationalization of historical process, it capitalism arises. Capitalism is not just an economic system or a societal system alone for Weber. For Weber, capitalism is also a cultural system marked by rationalization in all walks of life, whether it's administration, judiciary, or science. For Marx, capitalism is nothing but an economic system. But for Weber, it is not just an economic system or a social system. Capitalism is a cultural system. It impacts administration, judiciary, bureaucracy, and every aspect of the society. Right? Comparison between Weber and Durkheim. Durkheim stresses the exteriority of social fact, which he regarded as things. According to Durkheim, society is sui generis, it exists over and above the individual. Society is important, not the individual according to Durkheim, but according to Weber, individual is important. Society imposes certain constraints in order to make the individual a part of society. As per Durkheim, society imposes certain constraints on the individual. And why this is required? Why these constraints are required? This is required to maintain the social order and for solidarity of the society. While Weber focuses on the role of individual as an actor, according to Durkheim, society is important, while Weber focuses on the role of individual as an actor, orienting their behavior pattern in terms of their values and beliefs. Values and beliefs of an individual is important according to Max Weber. It is the task of sociologists to study these through Wurthen or interpretative understanding. Remember this term, interpretative understanding. This term is coined by Weber or Wurthen. Right? Wurthen. One should try to understand an individual or the action of an individual through interpretative sociology or through interpretation. Why someone is doing something, why someone is acting in a particular way, right? Try to understand that situation and interpret the actions, right? So according to Weber, individuals, their values, their actions, and their beliefs are important. A unit of analysis, Emile Durkheim studies religion in what he believes is its most elementary form. Ideas are held in common by all individuals, that their intensity are shared feeling ideas. Durkheim emphasizes the role of religion as collective consciousness or a collective phenomenon which serves to unite the society or strengthen the social bonds. While Durkheim studied the most elementary form of religion, while Weber studied the major feature of the world's great religion, right? He studied about the Chinese religion, he studied about the Hinduism, he studied about the Jainism, he studied about the Protestant, right? He is interested in their historical roots and their capacity to guide and shape the economic activities. He wanted to understand the role of religion in shaping the economic activity, right? These word religion are also seen in response to the prevailing social situations. The Kim emphasizes on tribal religion, visualizes the role of religion in maintaining social order. According to Durkheim, role of religion is maintaining the social order. Role of religion is to unite the society. While Weber's analysis looks at the creative role of religion in helping to shape a new way of thinking and acting, how it is changing the way of thinking and acting of an individual. Weber analysis looks at the creativity of the religion, how religion helps in new way of thinking. The role of religion. Durkheim basically sees religion as expression of collective consciousness. Worshipping a totem is nothing but worshipping a clan itself. Totem is an emblem. Ideas and beliefs cherished by the clan as a whole thus become a part of individual consciousness. The separation between the sacred and profane aspect of God is mediated through certain rites. You should separate the sacred and profane things or profane aspects of the world. The participation of the whole clan is some important rites helps to bring the collective enthusiasm, looking individuals into social bonds and making them aware of awesome power of society. Right? Why it is important to participate in social in important rights, because these rights helps in bonding or uniting the individual, or helps as a binding agent of the society, right? Weber wishes to understand the religion in relation to economic, political, and historical fact. What role a religion plays in economic development, in political development, and historical factors. He sees religion as a part and parcel of a larger historical trends, namely the move towards the capitalism, industrialization, and rationality. Right? We discussed the impact of that Protestant ethics and capitalism. A God, spirit, and prophet. Durkheim denies that religion is concerned with mysterious with gods and spirit. According to Durkheim, there is nothing like God, spirits, or prophet. He holds that the object of worship is society itself, transformed and represented through a certain symbolic object. So, according to Durkheim, society is God. It is an object of worship. Society is a sacred thing. Weber used the idea of God and spirit. Weber is dealing with religion which are relatively recent origin as compared to the tribal religion, because Durkheim studied the tribal religion while Weber studied the recent religions. These religion expresses certain personal qualities and displays a certain level of abstraction. When individuals abstract, they engage in symbolic activities. So, as per Durkheim, society is sacred, but as per Weber, he believed in God, ghost, and spirits. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.